Listen, today I am super excited and so honored. And for obvious reason, on this episode of Caribbean Girls Run It, we are sitting down with our very first guest from my home country, the beautiful oil producing country of Guyana. Our guest for today is a renowned lawyer dominating in the US immigration field. She's also a published author and at heart, a true Guyanese girl. So, woman and worthy, I am so honored to be sharing a screen with my Guyanese sister, Kinda Velloza. Stick with us.
Have you been suffering from neck pain or back pain, possibly from a bulging disc or from some mechanical issue? With 13 years of experience, we at the Rehab Center, we specialize in using physical therapy and manual therapy to help treat those issues. We use a wide range of tools: cupping, massage, acupuncture, therapeutic exercises, hot and cold therapy, even manual adjustment to help manage your pain. If you'd like to have a consultation with us, give us a call at 604-0587. And remember, we have your back.
All right, viewers, as promised, U.S. immigration lawyer, published author, and listen, I'm a little biased today because she's also a daughter of the soil where I am from, Guyana. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome Kinda Velloza to this episode of Caribbean Girls Run It. Thank you so much for joining us.
And thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh, of course. So I want to begin with your upbringings in Ghana. I know that not just Ghana, but added to that, you are also a country girl. So I'm really curious to know what your experience was like just growing up in Guyana.
So good question. Guyana, Berbice, New Amsterdam, who knows that it is as country as it could get. In regards to my experience growing up, when we're growing up, we don't give these things any thought. Because you think that the way that you were raised was very normal until you got to adulthood and then you begin to reflect. And during my time of reflection, I honestly have to say that growing up in Guyana was truly an experience that actually shaped me to where I am today. Typical childhood, playing in the streets, no toys, utilizing what I had around me. And again, this is things that, back then, it was fun. We didn't look at it that we were lacking in any way. I was raised in a single parent household with my mom alone, 6 siblings, but at no point in time I would consider my childhood a struggle. We didn't have luxuries because, and like I said, I didn't even know luxuries existed until adulthood. So I'm very appreciative of my childhood, growing up in Guyana, growing up in a community where I was familiar with everybody, and also just being able to form relationships, which is completely different from growing up in these bigger countries. Because like you would know, Javon, you go to school, nursery school with the same people, and those are the same people that transition to primary school and even high school with you. So it was a good journey. I have no complaints about growing up in Guyana at all.
I love that you coined it so well. It just really speaks to humble beginnings and to go from that. I think it shapes you. It really informs who you are. So going from that to now transition into what we call in the region the big world, and when we think about America, a lot of us in the region think like America is a bed of roses. You and I both know that's not the truth. But how did you adjust to like the culture of moving from such humble, small beginnings to now basically dominating in this big world?
Well, half of it starts with the transition came because I was in a bubble, and when I say that, I mean that in the humblest way. I moved from Guyana straight into New York. So I'm there, I'm familiar, I'm around Caribbean people. I'm having, I have access to Guyanese food. I was still able to be very much a part of my culture. So that eased the transition. Now, I'm going to tell you, when I left New York to go to law school in North Carolina, that's when I realized, okay,
Culture
New
shock.
York, yes, I was like, New York is not America. Going to a school with my school was diversified, but living in a community or living in a city where it's predominantly white people, that's where my struggles and having to adjust the way that I spoke, the way I was pronouncing and enunciating words, that was and still remains one of my main struggles, which also led me to begin practicing immigration law and specializing in immigration law.
Mm-hmm.
If you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. That was actually my next question. Like, viewers, we're not speaking to a regular lawyer. This is somebody who's been dominating in the immigration field. So I wanted to talk to you about that. What about your experience really inspired you to just go into that specifically, immigration law?
Everything about my experience. Coming to the United States, being in Guyana, having my papers, well, we call it our paperwork, but having my immigration documentation process for 7 years, going back and forth with immigration with no attorney. And then coming to America and hearing the struggles that, our Caribbean people go through, especially our Guyanese, and the difficulty in navigating the system. And in talking to my friends and talking to other family members that migrated here, I'm like, okay, I have to do something about it. And what's better than to actually have, an immigration lawyer who's an immigrant herself and literally went through the same process. So I'm better able to empathize with my clients because I know what it's like to get deported. So I fight extra hard, like you're getting removed back to a country. Yes, it's your homeland, but you haven't been there since you was 5 years old.
Yeah.
So it really inspires the drive in me because I know from experience what it's like.
You spoke about some of those struggles. Can you zero in on a few of the struggles people, especially from the Caribbean, face, transitioning to America? Because we're going to get into that a little later. 10 things immigrants should know. But what are some of the struggles that, generally that we have to deal with?
The transition is tough because we don't understand the system and how it works. And then, when we come from Caribbean countries where everything is small and somebody knows somebody, you could pick up the phone, you could get favors done and, questions answered. It's not the same here. So I basically became the point of contact because, in practice in immigration law, yes, I am an immigration lawyer who's supposed to be helping with just immigration. But then we have issues where immigrants, they don't know about taxes, they don't know about credit and how it affects them. They don't know what are the different authorities to go to. Simple, like if somebody does do some injustice in the Caribbean, all you have to do is pick up the phone and call the police. That's not how it works here. So these are things that I constantly find myself having to explain to my clients / immigrants on how to transition. And I serve more as a therapist and a guide more than anything. Yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
But the transition and figuring out the system and knowing what is what and where is where and where you find your place, it could be very, very difficult without the right guide.
Yeah, absolutely, navigating that process. So I know recently one of your milestone accomplishments, coming back to Guyana, curating a space for your law practice to provide these services to our local populace. Like that must have had been a full circle moment for you. Like, listen, I'm doing something right. What was that feeling like for you and that experience on the whole?
The experience, it was definitely humbling. And it just goes back to where I said I was in Guyana with no access to an immigration lawyer. I had nobody to ask any questions to. My immigration process took longer than it should. A process that should have been 2 years took 7 years. And just again, from being here and realizing that my people, they don't have access. The access isn't easy. We live in a cash-driven economy in Guyana where not everybody have access to a credit card. And then, with our money laundering, it's so hard to really do any kind of transactions. So having the office there was me putting myself in a situation like, okay, how this would have been had I had this representation at my fingertips, an immigration office that I could walk into, I could deliver documents, I could do payments, just having access to that kind of guide. So it really was, it came about from experience, and it really was full circle.
I love that your experience is what inspired all of this, because sometimes we think about, in general in life, like we go through something, we get through it, but we don't necessarily reach back and provide the assistance and the services to help other persons along. So I'm really happy that inspired your journey.
It really did. My experiences, even, you mentioned the book, from the book to the law firm in Guyana, well, not the law firm in Guyana, the office, immigration office in Guyana, the law firm here, it's just full-fledged experience.
All right. So viewers, we're going to go to a quick break, but she just touched on the book. We're going to zero in on that a little bit more. She is a published author, and trust me, you want to know all about it. So stick with us.
Beautiful, warm, exquisite. Your retreat awaits. Welcome to the British Virgin Islands, one of the world's most exclusive vacation destinations. This is paradise, and you deserve paradise. Add some luxury to your vacation. After all, you are a VIP. Experience all our amenities, including personal transportation to and from all reserved activities. I know you are craving that perfect getaway to unwind, unplug, and reset. And the weekend off just doesn't do it. Relax, we've got you covered. Look no further than here.
Hi, I'm Gia of Golden Journey Concierge Services, and we are anxious to serve you. From the moment you arrive, the vacation designed just for you begins to unfold, and your adventure awaits. You're in good hands, my hands.
Perhaps our greatest treasure is the Virgin Islands' pristine beauty. Come on, let's get down to earth, literally, and explore nature's little secret.
Are you a thrill seeker? Well, how about a mountain-high view of our capital while seated in the sky?
After a thrilling adventure, take a load off. Sink your feet into soft white sand and enjoy a bath in the cool, crystal clear seawater.
I know one thing's for sure. You cannot visit the Virgin Islands without exploring all 60 islands and keys.
Tell us your interests, and we will curate your ultimate BVI vacation experience, a Golden Journey experience. Golden Journey Concierge Services, designing luxurious vacations for the VIP in you.
Thank you so much for joining us, viewers. If you're now joining us, we are speaking to our Guyanese representative for Caribbean Girls Run It, Ms. Kinda Velloza. She is a renowned immigration lawyer in the United States of America and a published author. Now, speaking about that, you published a book, Kinda, titled, 10 Things Immigrants Should Know Before Coming to America. Let's and I know you can't give away all the things because obviously we want them to go buy the book. But what was the inspiration behind that, and what's within this book that persons need to know?
The inspiration behind it was my experience.
Mm-hmm.
Coming to America, not having anyone to guide me. None of my friends were in school when I got here. Nobody was able to explain any of these things to me. So everything in this book is what I've experienced personally. combined with the experience of my clients, because I wrote this book like 4 years once I started practicing immigration law, 4 years into it. So it was just a compilation of all the issues that immigrants face. And I did pick out the 10 most common things: taxes, deadline, and how important it is to file taxes, and
And that is something completely new to us because we don't really know about that type of stuff in the region, right?
Exactly. So that's exactly what inspired it. So not knowing the tax deadline, not knowing that if you're not filing taxes, you won't be able to file for your family members in the future. You probably won't able to be, you won't be able to get to U.S. citizenship. I also touched on credit. Again, that's something that's not very common in the Caribbean. Like, we have credit scores, and credit scores make or breaks a person's success in the United States. So I had to explain, the credit bureaus, how it works, how to keep a good credit score, your credit card commitments, credit cards and how they work. I also touched on, and this is from my own personal experience, education. What are the steps to apply to college? I even dropped the link to applying for financial aid and just basically guiding through the process, because I was in school for 8 years, nonstop, not even a semester off, right? So I graduated early from my bachelor's, from my master's, and from my Juris Doctorate. So I share that experience for them to understand what they have to double down on, and what has to be done in order to accomplish what I've accomplished. So I touched on a lot of things that immigrants would find very, very, very resourceful.
Yeah, definitely. And that book is going off the shelves. We're going to drop the information later on in the show about how you too can purchase a copy of that book. Now, I want to zero in before we move on from law on the fact that I think, one of the things that I admire most about you is that you are dominating in your field. And, recently I came across some statistics from a national survey that was done, and they said that 61.5% of all lawyers in the United States are males.
Yeah.
That blew my mind, because I'm looking at you and other women, you continue to celebrate women in the fraternity as well. Some of them are your very friends, and it's just amazing to witness you blooming in this industry. So I don't know if you've had some challenges, and if you've had any, can you zero in on some of those challenges that you would have experienced, just being in the industry as a woman in a male-dominated industry?
So my experience with it, it hasn't been challenging. Most of the judges, yes, are primarily males. I only know of 1 or 2 female immigration judges, and they're not even here in Atlanta. Oh, no, there's actually 1 in Atlanta, sorry, and the next one in North Carolina. But it hasn't been challenging. Once you actually go to court prepared, it hasn't been a struggle. But to add to statistics, though, in the United States, since I'm considered Black being here, it's only 4.5% of attorneys are Black, and only 2% of that 4.5 are actually female. So it actually gets crazier than the 61%.
Oh my goodness, that is wild. That is really wild. So again, props to you for doing what you do, and for the representation as well, Kinda, because I know a lot of Caribbean people are frazzled just coming to America, trying to figure out what's the next step and how to do it. And you're doing it so well. Now, I want to divert a little bit, when we zero in on the lives of millionaires, one of the things, or one of the common denominators we see, is the fact that they carry several sources of income. And that's one of the things I've been witnessing you two doing. Just investing in different ventures. Now, you don't have to go into everything, but I just want you to touch on it a bit, and why it's important to cross invest.
Yeah, so investment. I always say I do law out of passion, especially immigration law, and it's actually referred to here amongst attorneys as the poor law. So I do it out of passion, do it to help. And I always joke and I say, you know what, I want to be rich, and immigration law is not going to get me rich. And like the books Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad Poor Dad, they always say 7 sources. So I stuck by it. I do, I invest in real estate, I invest in stocks. And again, these are things that everybody can do. It's just about commitment and a little bit of time. But and just learning and just learning.
All right. So viewers, there you have it. You don't have to be, just one thing. You can be multidimensional and get to the bag. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, me being a lawyer is a career, but there's still things that Kendall wants to do and still things that Kendall wants to accomplish. So when it's all said and done and I'm done with law at, 7, 8 o'clock at night, next is for me to work on me and, building the empire and having the resources to do so where investing comes into play.
All right. I love it. I love it. And to divert again, we want to talk about your foundation because, this success that you've been able to achieve over these years has also informed and allowed you really to reach back and empower so many other persons in the community, especially the vulnerable fractions of the community. And I want to touch on your foundation, the Velloza Foundation. You have given back to displaced families. You have given back to students, persons, young persons who want to pursue law. And I know some of that has to come from you coming from that humble beginning. So talk to us about your foundation and some of the work you've been able to accomplish through it.
Well, you touched on it mostly, but the Velloza Foundation, it's all rounded. I did start with having a scholarship at my high school. Like you said, giving back to students who want to pursue law. So I've started doing that, I think about 3 years ago. Speaking of which, I need to get it done this year, start putting that in place for this year. Just helping vulnerable families. Like I said, I become the point of contact as an immigration lawyer for a lot of immigrants, and talking to them and hearing their stories, you want to help. So at first I was helping Guyanese, helping immigrants in my own personal capacity, but it got to the point where I needed more help. So that's why I decided to create the foundation just to really help. And one of my goals behind the foundation primarily is to help immigrants, assist them with attorney fees, whether they're working with a current attorney and they can't afford the fees, or they're going to be entering the country and they can't afford the fees, because immigration fees, they can be high. Yeah. And I'm not just only speaking about the attorney fees, but just USCIS fees, which is the processing fees for the United States. So I want to be able to assist to pay legal fees, assist to pay the processing fees, and that was the driving factor behind the Velloza Foundation.
And we love it. We love it. So viewers, we're going to go to a very quick break, but when we come back, we're talking about balance before we close out this exciting episode of Caribbean Girls Run It. Stick with us.
Have you been suffering from neck pain or back pain, possibly from a bulging disc or from some mechanical issue? With 13 years of experience, we at the Rehab Center, we specialize in using physical therapy and manual therapy to help treat those issues. We use a wide range of tools: cupping, massage, acupuncture, therapeutic exercises, hot and cold therapy, even manual adjustment to help manage your pain. If you'd like to have a consultation with us, give us a call at 604-0587. And remember, we have your back.
So Kinda, I'm excited to jump into this part because, I really believe in what I'm about to say. Like, I love the fact that you really find time to live your life. And you touched on it a little bit earlier. Law is passion, but there's so many other aspects to who Velloza is, right? And I have to be honest in telling you that I live vicariously through okay? The trips, living life, taking time for self-care, refueling yourself. It's also inspiring to watch. And it's really an important thing for women to see, So I want you to tell me a little bit about how you are able to create that balance and like how you would want to encourage other women to do so as well.
Well, yes. So you've been noticing. I definitely believe in balance. I sell balance. And if you know my friend Jessica Esquire, who's also a lawyer, we've been promoting and pushing for people in our field to accept balance and to know that it's okay. It's okay to at some point, early in the night, 8 or 9 o'clock, to just leave off of that. What's important behind having balance is getting a team. Getting a team who believes in your dreams and your goals. There's staff and then there's team members. I believe in building teams. So I hire team members who I've trained, and I made that a priority to train them to work in the capacity that I would work in. I do overlook my practice, but I don't need to be in the office to overlook that, because I have individuals in place for that. Yeah. So it's easy for me to go to Tortola or go to Barbados, but yes, while on the flight, I'm still making sure that everything is in place. While I'm there, I'm still making sure everything is in place, and then I head off to the beach. So I believe in balance, and it's very important for your mental health as well, because how good of an attorney would I be if I'm exhausted and I'm burnt out? So when I feel like I'm getting there, I hop on a flight and I decompress and I come back better than ever.
Love it. I love it. And you touched on a very important thing. We don't have to do everything, women. We do not have to do everything. Delegate well and get the job done.
Yes. And this is something, because, I don't think necessarily it's a flex to say, I work 24 hours a day. That's not a flex. If you can delegate, you delegate. Like, I have a housekeeper. I have somebody who cleans my house. I have somebody who caters my food. And like I said, I have a team member so that I can, those are just little aspects in your day that you don't need to maximize, because at the end of the day, it doesn't contribute to you being who you are. So women, if you could delegate so that you can focus on you, grow your business, sit there and do research and just do that, you'd be surprised with the levels that you could go to. So that's my little secret.
I love it. I love it. All right. As we begin to wrap up, I have to ask you what I ask every guest on the show. You are a true representation of what it means to be an authentic Caribbean woman, really blazing the trail. And we are so proud of you. So I want to know from you, how does it feel to be a Caribbean woman living out her dreams?
It's humbling. It's very humbling. You guys look at me this way. I just wake up every day and just do what I gotta do. Just look and focus on helping as many people as I can accomplish and achieve the American dream. But thank you so much, Devon. Thank you.
Oh, welcome. And we are so proud of you once again. We love this legacy that you're building, especially for Black Caribbean girls. This show was curated with that in mind, having our other sisters understand that it is possible by this very representation that you're seeing here, and so many other women, doing well in the region and in the diaspora. So we want to applaud you for all that you've been doing. And before you go, Kinda, can you kindly just plug for our viewers all of your information, your website, socials, and so on, so persons can follow you on your journey and also support by purchasing a copy of that book?
Thank you. So 10 things all immigrants should know before coming to America. It's available on Amazon for purchase. It's available on Barnes & Noble for purchase. If you're in Guyana, you could pick up a copy of it at my office. If you're here in Atlanta, you could pop in at my office as well. My socials across the board is Immigration Lawyer U.S.A, and that's on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube.
All right. Thank you so much again for joining us, and all the best.
Thank you.
Viewers, that was our representative for Guyana, Ms. Kinda Velloza, renowned lawyer, published author, and a Guyanese girl. Until next time, my name is Javon Wilson. But be sure to check out the next episode. We'll be featuring a young woman who is a curator, creative at the core. She is a gatekeeper of BVI culture, and trust me, certainly somebody who is dominating on every stage in America. Stick with us. Next episode is going to be super exciting. Again, Javon Wilson for Caribbean Girls Running. Bye-bye. Makeup sponsored exclusively by Glam by Anicia.